Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out Entitled Parents. Story 1. Throwback to when my mom snapped her ankle. A lot of time has passed since this happened, so I can finally laugh about it. At the end of 2021, my mom fell in the middle of the night after going to the bathroom and snapped her ankle really bad. At this time, I had taken that semester off from school and was working as a part-timer in retail, but with full-time hours. I took time off from school to focus on my mental health and working with counseling and psychiatry. This did not fall well with my mom, however my previous semester at school ended with me in a psych ward due to my depression. Unfortunately, my mom did not and still doesn't believe I have mental health problems. Despite being diagnosed with several things, the most profound one I deal with is bipolar 1 and its rapid cycling. Unfortunately, my mom was bedridden and decided to stay on the couch in the living room instead of her bed, as her bed is pretty high up and would be harder to get on/off of. She's a teacher, and she was fortunate enough to still be receiving pay. At the time, she was actually back in an online school to finish off her bachelor's degree. We had a household of 3, her, my 10-year-old brother, now 12, and myself. Unfortunately, I had to become the mother of the household. I took my brother to/ from school. We live in a big city, so the commute was unfortunately 40 min both ways. I was actually already in charge of taking him to school before her injury. I also worked about 36 to 40 hours a week. So when I got home from dropping off my brother, I had to be sure to leave my mom breakfast/lunch. On the days I couldn't get my brother from school, his babysitter would get him, but I had to pick him up from her place, which was 3 minutes from his school. I was in charge of cleaning the home, doing laundry, cooking all meals, including all of the Thanksgiving food, on my own. I also already cleaned the home and did laundry before her injury, as a disclaimer, lol. On top of this, I was in charge of shopping for groceries, and whatever my mom decided she so desperately needed from outside, Dr. Pepper. I was basically a mother at the age of 20. For 3 months, I did everything in the home. I even had to wash and style her hair for her. It was like I had a huge infant to take care of. I cried myself to sleep many nights. What made it horrible was that she was never thankful for any of my help. She actually just mocked me the entire time. She also yelled at me non-stop. During those 3 months, not a single family member came to visit her, not even her own mother. She's alone because she's such a horrible person. On top of everything I was doing, she demanded that I also do her school work, and when I declined, she made the excuse that it's so much easier for me. She would ask me to do it, I'd say no, then she'd keep on asking. And after I rejected it enough times, she'd start groaning about how much pain she was in. One time, she was so angry that I told her she wouldn't learn unless she did it herself, that she told me, "I hope I die so you can suffer because of how you treat me." That stung pretty hard. I had no time to see my friends or to take a break to breathe. I ended up going back to school in the spring just to get away from her. Ironically enough, dealing with being her personal servant for that long actually made my mental health worse. I also made sure Christmas happened for my little brother. I put up the tree, did all of the shopping, decorating, and activities with him. She actually ended up yelling at me as I was secretly wrapping up his gifts because she didn't like how I was doing it. 2 years later, she can walk again. She sees it as a story of her perseverance in life and how she overcame her injury on her own. I think I'm now just processing all of that and how fucked it was. On the bright side, it taught me that I'm more than capable of being on my own, despite her telling me I'd fail without her. She'd fail without me. Story 2. My parents are ruining my life. My family is enmeshed and it's driving me crazy. My parents feel like they own me and they both have no life of their own. I'm 23F and I moved out last year down the street spur of the moment to get away from them. They both took it like it's absurd I moved out and didn't speak to me for 2 weeks. My mom likes to do this as a power thing, not speaking to me. Anyways, they have no life, no friends of their own, My mom doesn't work hasn't since she was 20 and spends every day of her life being intrusive and calling me telling me all of her stress, which are always little things like she has to take the trash out or has to help the neighbor move furniture. She is negative every day and hard to be around because all she does is fill my head with her problems. They find it offensive if I don't go over their house every day, and my dad guilt trips me if I haven't slept over as much as they want. They want to control everything about me and know everything about my life every single day. What I'm doing for work, relationships, my day and night plans, what I ate, where I bought my new clothes, who I was with, etc. etc. They ask to drop things off to my apartment constantly, and if I don't respond to texts and calls they freak out and act like I'm up to something suspicious. Please give me advice. I'm currently looking for a therapist, but I can't live this way anymore. Story 3. My mom keeps the entirety of my younger brother's SSI checks. I've been taking care of my little brother for around 5 years. My mother receives $1,300 a month for him in SSI. She refuses to give me anything to save for him or use to take care of him, me being the only one with a good head on my shoulders and financially responsible. All she's ever offered me was food stamps. Her house is basically a crack house with random drug addicts moving in and out. Is there anything I can do to make sure me or him gets his check? I do not have custody. Edit. Unsure of circumstances for receiving check. He's not disabled. Mother may have lied to doctors to make him seem disabled, but my father did pass away a while ago, and after he did was when she started getting these checks. I pay for his food, his school cloths, his Christmas gifts, everything. I got his bus route rerouted to my new house so they pick him up right out front my home. Mother would always make him late to stop at the gas station to get a coffee and chit-chat with her friends. It was the only thing I asked her to do, this being about a year ago. Story 4. Mom is mad I'm sleeping in on weekends. 20F here. I work 8:30 Monday Friday and usually sleep in on the weekends until about 12 p.m. or so. My mom moods are unpredictable, so one moment she won't get mad about a certain thing but then all of a sudden be mad about it for no reason. This weekend she's been flinging my door open and throwing clothes on my bed and then slamming it, causing me to wake up, and I just know she's throwing a fit because I'm sleeping in. On Saturday she told me I need to act my age because I got up late when trashes needed to be thrown, etc. I already had cleaned the house and done dishes, so I don't really understand why she's mad today when everything's been done. I just want a day to relax and sleep in. She's never told me that it's an expectation to be up early on weekends. If she needs help with something, all she needs to do is tell me to wake up early and help, and I will, but I can't just read her mind. A couple weeks ago she said some really hurtful things to me that caused me to have a breakdown, and when I tried to explain to her why what she said hurt me, she said I was just throwing a fit and basically tried to justify what she said, and couldn't admit she was wrong until I suggested it'd probably be best if I moved in with my brother. That's when she then apologized, which she never does. I've tried to set boundaries, and when I have she just starts throwing fits, saying I'm the child and she's the mom, and I'll hear whatever she has to say as long as I'm under her roof. So at this point, is it really best to move out? The only thing that makes it hard is my car is about to give out, so it can't drive long distances. Am I being overdramatic? What am I doing wrong for her to react like this? Edit. Also, I want to clarify that I do my part around the house. I clean every day, I ask if things need to be done, I pay rent. When I go out to eat with them I'll pay for my own food, I'll go out of my way to pay for their things to show gratitude. I don't just come home from work or just sit around on weekends and do nothing, I do what I need to do around here. Story 5. Update: father controlled and manipulated my whole life, so I'm finally leaving. Hello Reddit, it's been a couple months. First of all, I want to thank everyone who commented on my last post with advice, and those who showed support in my decision. You were all very helpful, and I believe I would have chickened out if my suspicions of the poor treatment weren't confirmed by so many of you. A lot of you also asked for an update, and I think it's time I give one. First, for context for anyone who didn't read my last post, I 20, left my home silently 2 months ago with bare essentials because I was getting emotionally and mentally abused and manipulated by my father. My initial plan had been to stick around for at least another year, but it had gotten to the point where I was forced to, with the help of my best friend and my girlfriend, use the time where he was not in the country to pack myself into a couple suitcases and a few bags and move in with my GF and her family. As for right now, things are difficult to say the least. I am a million times better off in this house where everyone accepts me for who I am as a person, including my ADHD and autism, and where I can set my own boundaries. I would be lying, though, if I said I don't miss anything about my life before at all. Here are some of the things that have been especially difficult for me to adapt to / forget. I have financially dropped many classes, for a lack of a better word. My father was well off because of his work, and he didn't give me much of his wealth as he expected me to earn my own money, but I was living a comfortable life where making certain payments, buying food, or treating myself was never a matter of worry. Now that I live away and without his financial help, in a household of 6 where I need to contribute, I find myself counting pennies. Don't get me wrong, I expected this and how hard it was going to be, but I have the right to struggle with accepting and adapting to it. The house is loud and I never have alone time. As someone who's ADHD, having quiet time and some alone time with my own thoughts or to simply rest is important, especially when processing heavy trauma such as has been this entire endeavor. Although my old house had 4 people in it, my father, his wife, and her daughter, almost no one was ever home due to work, social life, etc. In this house of 6 people, GF, her mother, her sibling, her little brother, and their cousin, somebody is always at home. In the last 2 months, there have only been 2 instances in which I have been left in the house by myself, and it was only for a few hours. I have no issue with this, truly, and I most often appreciate the company. The only issue arises when I'm feeling mentally poorly, having a bad day, and need the silence and emptiness to process, but cannot. Even then, I obviously don't bring it up, as that's a personal thing. If I really need the space, I take a long walk outside. My GF's little brother. I love him dearly, he's a sweetheart, but he's heavily on the autistic spectrum, much more than me. He's nonverbal, has no boundaries, and always causes a lot of ruckus around the house either with his phone or just by being hyper. Again, 99% of the time I have no issue with him. He's kind and often gentle, and he's actually improving on his communication skills quite quickly and especially recently. He's just difficult to deal with sometimes if everyone in the house is stressed out, tired, or even when he's just being way too loud and causing too much noise. He has a lot of sensory needs and needs a lot of special treatment, as well as a very specific schedule to function and avoid meltdowns. It's not a big disruption to my life at all, just a factor to adapt to a little suddenly that I'm struggling with. Leaving my job and relying on people. As mentioned before, ADHD makes this whole change very difficult and, unfortunately, I had to quit my decently paying job for the sake of my mental health. I was only working part-time, but the line of work which I was in is extremely emotionally and mentally exhausting and time-consuming, and it was making the transition of my life horrendously more difficult to cope with. So I left. This has meant that, even though I've had the luck to save up some money to buy food and other essentials for myself as need be, I've had to rely on either my GF or my 2 best friends quite a bit. Being someone who, through my entire life, has helped other people financially because I've been stable, I have found it particularly hard to ask for help when I need it, and accepting it when it's been given to me. It comes with a lot of guilt and a feeling as though I've become a burden to the household, even though while I was working I was contributing 1/3 of my paycheck to rent, bills, food, etc. I'm looking for work semi-actively right now, but I've so far been encouraged by the close people in my life to take it easy and take as much time off as I need to get a footing so that I don't end up burning out. Dropping out of uni. One of the biggest issues I had at home was that I was forced to continue my academics after high school. Now, I have always believed that university is good if you have a path you wish to follow and are sure about it. For those of us, though, who don't know what they want to do with their life, uni just becomes a stress factor where you aren't fighting for your own education, but for the satisfaction of someone else. Whether we're pleasing parents, which I was attempting to do because my father would tell me I owed it to him for how much he paid and sacrificed for my education, society, or someone else, it's one of those things that will eventually burn you out and make you lose sense of what you actually wish to do. One of the first things I did when I left was to drop out of uni. I am happy I am no longer forced to learn things I hate and to adapt to a pressuring routine on top of working, but hearing all my friends go to uni and some of the judgment from them has made me doubt my choice. The transition itself from suddenly not having anything to learn has, too, been a difficult thing to start adjusting to. I miss my dad. No, I don't mean the entitled piece of sh that I ran away from who abused me for years and destroyed my self-esteem, my dreams, and my sense of sense. I mean the man who, when I was little, would bring me back gifts after every long-distance work trip and hug me for hours because I missed him. I mean the man who, if I came back from school upset, would take me to my favorite restaurant so I would have my favorite meal and would then let me stay up a little later, watching my comfort movie with me. I mean the man who took me on several holiday trips when he could and let me explore the world as much as I could even while I was young. The man who told me he was proud of me when I won an art competition or when I got an amazing result on a test. The man who said loves ya instead of I love you because I said it once as a kid. The man who made funny faces every time I filmed him for anything because he knew I found it funny. I miss my dad, and it's hurting and difficult to forget that the reason I left was because that man no longer existed, and hadn't for a very long time. All of that being said though, I'm happy that I left when I did. My life was getting to a point where my entire existence was controlled by my dad and his moods. How my day ended depended of whether, when I came home, he would say welcome back or where the hell have you been, said in simple terms. I couldn't dress and be myself because he always had an issue with me being LGBTQ+, in sexuality and gender terms, and he'd never call me by my preferred name to demean my existence. His treatment to me depended a lot on my grades in school and in uni, and not my personality, my treatment of other people, my way of expression, and other things he should have been actually paying attention to. Every little mistake I made was being blown out of proportion. I was simply unhappy. I was being mistreated. Here, I am myself. I am treated right, I am greeted with a smile and a hug when I am home, I am asked about my day and what I am doing. No one cares that I am no longer in uni and I always get asked if my recent hobby project went well and if I was happy with it. People here are proud of me, respect me, and my boundaries. For any kid out there struggling with narcissistic, entitled parents abusing them in whatever way, I encourage you to find a way out. Of course, stories are different and always complex, but the truth of the matter is that if you are being mistreated and suppressed as a human, you deserve better. Whether for you that means cutting contact completely and starting a new life, or simply moving away and keeping low contact, it doesn't matter. Taking the step in parting ways with the toxicity in your life helps you in the long run. And if someone tells you you're just taking the easy way out, and you don't care about the consequences, leaving isn't the easy way out. It's one of the hardest, most complicated ways of leaving that does cause a lot of consequences you will struggle with. But you will start feeling better. You will have the chance to live life in your own terms and build yourself up again without the looming presence of disappointment and pain from those who were meant to protect you from it. You've got it. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.